Welcome to Savor the Story podcast, where books and snacks are life. I'm Nicole. That's Vanessa. Sup?
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to Bonus Bites.
Yay. It is time.
It is time for Bonus Bites. We have a couple of announcements for this Bonus Bite.
Yeah, I didn't know how to start this one.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so first, we'll tell you the book is The Unmarked Witch by Miranda Lyn. It is a duology. So you got at least 2 episodes, and we're doing them a little bit differently this time. We're going to test it out, see how it goes, because if you listen to Where the Library Hides, I think.
Whatever the library did.
Yeah, whatever the library did. We wanted to, we found that there were a lot of theories throughout the book that we wanted to call out, but because we didn't record till the very end and we knew everything, then it didn't really make sense for us to be like, this theory, whatever. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so what we decided to do is break it up into parts. Mr. Chatty helped and broke it into pieces that made sense for us. So whether those spots actually make sense or not, unknown. That's what we're going with. So if you're listening to the audio only, you will not notice a difference at all. It's just going to flow through like regular. You may notice that we talk about theories a little bit more and then later be like, damn, we were wrong.
Yeah.
But as far as the way we flow through the book, it's not going to be, shouldn't be any different. If you're watching the video, we will be wearing different clothes and look differently in every section that we record.
Right. I wasn't going to try and do the whole, what was I wearing the first day? I'm going to go put my hair up.
Yeah, because I gave it to be exactly the same. Mm-mm. So, no, you are going to see a difference in the video. But, yeah, so in that, the first breaking point that we were told by Mr. Chatty is Chapter 5, which, so we read chapters 1 through 5, and which got us to page 44. So we are going to tell you all of our thoughts and feelings and what happened in the first 44 pages.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're ready to start, I am ready to start.
I am ready to start. I have one thing to say about the book.
Before we even start.
Okay. The physical book.
Yes.
I really enjoy that it says book 1
right
on the front.
At the top, at the very top, you have no question.
I don't, and considering the amount of problems I've had with this year, accidentally reading book 3s.
Yes.
This has been really helpful.
That would have been terrible if we came in and you were like, Vanessa, for some reason, it was not page 44 that chapter 5 ended on. So right. I read.
So I just kept reading.
Yes. It also has it on the spine. There's a number 1 on the spine, which is fantastic. Yes, every book should do this. I think you are correct. Thank you for calling that out.
Yeah. I also started with chaos, with my chaos Post-it notes. But then, as I got further in, I was like, this is it's just a regular soft cover paperback.
Yes,
I guess I'm not. And I was doing that spine bending. So I was like, I guess I don't care about this book. I'm treating it like every other physical copy.
Yes.
It's just bend, stretch. So it gets less chaos.
Okay, so basically, my overall description about this book is so far first 5 chapters we meet Raven Moonstone, who is the main character, her best friend Kirsi, her partner, I guess, Nico's. It sounds like he's her partner.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, full spoilers, remember, we're going deep dive. Just a reminder. Oh, yeah. So it sounds like it's her partner, or they were almost put together.
Mm-hmm. Her parents want them to be together.
Yes. That's kind of the vibe I got. So we learn about the magic and stuff. So we learn about the thing called the receiving, where a receiving, I guess we could just go through pieces, all my little bullet points, and it'll get us to the end of chapter 5. But so the witches in this book acquire spells randomly.
Yeah. I have so many sticky notes about this.
You do? Okay, so let's just go through bullet points and then we'll come back to them.
Yeah.
Okay. So receiving. Great. There's something called harrowing, which is a witch sickness that you can get. There is something called thrashing, which are witch killings that are just randomly happening that are not explained yet. Her grandma-like person, so someone who is like a grandma to her, Tassa Moonbreak, is the coven leader, and she was just murdered. And so because of that, we learn that in order for her coven to gain a new leader, people have to enter into this Harry Potter Goblet of Fire
right
situation and go through trials to become the next coven leader. Her actual grandma was killed a couple years ago.
I thought she was like a youth.
Oh, that's right. She was like 10 or 12 or something like that. Okay, yes. So her grandma was killed by the king, by the Dark King, and he stole the grimoires.
All the grimoires.
All the grimoires. I hate that word. And we don't have a whole lot of information on those yet, only that when witches are born and when they die, they put a drop of their blood into the grimoire, and we don't know what that means. So, like, does it provide magic to the coven? Does it, like, power to the coven?
I do have a sticky note on it.
Okay.
So we can
talk about that.
Yeah. But also...
Yeah. Okay. So while you're doing that, we also have Raven ends up being... We don't know if she's attacked or if she is suffering from the witch harrowing, but she has all the symptoms of a harrowing and becomes the first witch to ever survive this, which makes me believe that it was not a true harrowing, which we can get to. So I think that's kind of basically it. Everything else that I have is mostly... I'll say one more thing. The trial bucket or whatever it is that you have to put your name into to join
the fire.
Yes, the Goblet of Fire is surrounded by the king's magic, which apparently gives Raven sex dreams or something.
I don't know. I was calling it the sex shadows because I had no idea what was going on.
No. Okay, so let's start there before we circle back to the other theories or anything that you have. Let's start with the sex shadows.
Okay.
Because what the fuck?
Like I said, I had no fucking clue what's going on. Like, they're at the thing where they're...
The Goblet of Fire.
They're at the Goblet of Fire. It's basically a remembrance ceremony for the coven leader. They're saying goodbye. They're explaining to you what is happening or, what's the next steps, introducing the Goblet of Fire. The king's person is there and he's like, I'm showing the king's magic, and this giant shadow and mist surround them.
Yeah.
As like a show of power.
Yeah.
And then they're like, hey, if you want to join the Goblet of Fire, make sure you put your name in there or your drop of blood or whatever. And everybody leaves. And so she's with Kirsi. And is that how you said her name? Kirsi?
I called her Kirsi. Because it's
Kirsi.
Kirsi.
Yeah.
But whatever you call her.
Yeah. So Kirsi is there too, and she's like pulling her through the mist. And apparently Kirsi is fine with it. She's just like, do whatever.
Oh, that magic is strong.
Yeah, but but Raven is having like
an orgasm.
I know, basically. Yes, that's actually a really great way to say it, because she's just like, she all of a sudden gets all like hot and heavy, and she's like, oh my god, I want to
touch myself. I want to touch
myself. I want to do all these things. And I was just like,
yeah.
Like, what the literal fuck are these sex shadows? I don't understand. Okay, so first I thought that he was putting magic around the thing to keep it from other covens entering this area, right? I thought, okay, so that's what it sounded like to me, which gave me even more Goblet of Fire references, because they put that like thing where if you're a certain age you can't put your name in the bucket.
But I don't understand. So my only theory that I can come up with in this is that they're going to be like fated mates or something like that, like Raven and the Dark King. Yeah. There's some sort of fated situation, fated romance, like some sort of like familial, or not familial, but like, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but some sort of like connection there that is sex connection. I don't know.
So
because why else would that? I don't know.
Yeah. So I had a couple like theories at the beginning where,
okay,
because she talks about she talks about the shifters a little bit and how nobody trusts them and stuff. And I have like a sticky note where I was like, okay, so this is the first mention of the shifters, but I feel like this is foreshadowing, right? And then she talks about it a little bit later and talks about how the king's father was a shifter and the king and his mother was a
witch.
Like a witch. So the more I got through it, the more I was like, in the first 40 pages, I was like, okay, so she's apparently going to have sex with the king.
Of course.
Because...
well, she kind of already did with his sex shadow.
His sex shadows, yeah. So, yeah, and I think I even sent you a message that this was before I got to the sex shadow part. Yes. So my theory was, and in my sticky note, I was just like, this is garbage, because if this whole book is her sacrificing herself on the altar of a shifter or whatever, so that way Miriam and everybody will be fine. And then they were like, oh, the king is a half shifter and she's having orgasms in his sex shadow. I was like, okay, well, now I know what the book's about.
So I feel like we don't know yet. So what we haven't learned is what's wrong with the world, basically. Like, all we know is that the Dark King is trying to gain control by collecting all the grimoires, right? And we know that our Raven's coven needs a coven leader. So we have trials. But we don't know, like, is there something going on? Is the whole point going to be just fighting this king? Like this sex king?
Yeah, the sex shadow king. Yeah.
I don't think I have any theories on that yet. So yours is like a little more, I feel like a little more than mine right now.
Yeah, I was surprised to find that he was also like a witch, or he has a coven of witches. I was surprised to read that, because in the beginning they're like, oh, he's killing all these witches and taking all their grimoires, which I guess I assumed was because he didn't want witchcraft in the world, but it just turns out that he's trying to
be the coven of, or he's trying to be the coven leader of, like make one big coven.
Yeah, like trying to get all of the magic. So something I have to bring up with this, I don't understand. I don't really think up until this point the magic is really explained that well, because all we know based on one interaction with a person is that nobody knows what magic they're going to get. You can't learn magic, and all that's going to happen is one day you're going to be sitting there and you basically go comatose, and then when you come out of it, you have a new tattoo and a new power. Right. So, which, by the way, I was really disappointed when that happened in the book, because the lady it happens to, she comes out of it. She knows what's happened because she's a witch and she has multiple tattoos. But she didn't even, she has a new tattoo. She came out. Yeah, she didn't even talk about it. She just came out of it and she was like, give me my things and I have to leave. And I was like...
Well, so Raven did explain that no other person knows all of the powers that any one witch has. So maybe she didn't bring it up because of that. Like, she can't tell you what what powers she got.
Yeah, maybe. But you think the woman would have been like, what is this?
Yeah.
Yeah, like she just... acted like it didn't even happen and walked away and left.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, I guess that's just introducing how it happens.
Right. Yeah, I definitely think we need way more information. Like, when you get the new, when you get the receiving, do you instantly, you as the witch, know instantly what new power you got? Or is it some sort of like trial and error situation where you're like, let's try this thing? So we need to know more about that. Is the magic specific to like a specific coven can only receive certain kinds of magic? Or like powers of magic? I don't know. Also, the fact that Raven does not have any markings on her, but she does have power. So, like, I don't know if I don't have any theories on that yet. Like, like, why she has no markings.
Yeah, I have no clue.
No thoughts on it yet. Okay, great. We're in the same spot. For the harrowing situation or the harrowing symptoms that she received, are you thinking that it was actually a curse? Like, somebody did it to her, or did she actually survive a harrowing?
I don't think any is outside. Either option is outside of the realm of possible. With, like, how this book is going. But I think I'm leaning towards somebody was trying to murder her. 'Cause
agreed.
I don't think we have clear enough evidence of what a harrowing is. Like, she was just like, oh, blood started pouring out of every orifice and I almost died. It was like, well, is that what happens in a harrowing? Because you never said that, you know?
I was thinking the same thing because she was explaining that she felt like she was being summoned out there. And then she started experiencing these symptoms. And I was like, well, does every person who experiences the harrowing feel like they're being summoned? Like, we don't know if whatever, but I am leaning more towards like curse or like somebody murdering her over you're the one witch who's ever survived a harrowing.
And you don't have markings.
And you don't have markings.
And you're the sex king's fated love.
Fated, yes, whatever.
Yeah.
And then the other theory that I have is that, and this is very early with not a lot of information, obviously, but I already don't trust her mom. Because
her parents are weird.
Yeah, parents feel very weird. Mom specifically didn't want to hear a word about how Raven was like, I think I might have been cursed. Like, mom was like, nope, don't talk about it. Don't talk to the coven leaders about it. Don't do anything. We're just not going to talk about it at all. You just survived. The end. Like, so that felt weird. I do feel maybe there's something in her lineage that's like, oh, this is, I guess, into another type of theory where I feel like, because they don't want her to go into the trial either.
Like maybe her mom and dad are shifters or something.
There's something there where she's like, mom is like, don't put your name in the goblet of fire because something is going to get revealed about our family like lineage or something like that.
Right. Yeah, that's actually a really good point. As soon as you started saying it, I was like, that actually makes sense. Like, but
there's got to be something there. So I don't know. Right now, I don't have trust for mom on very little information. But that's where I'm at. And then obviously, I think both her and her friend Kirsi are going to get chosen because the way they explain the Goblet of Fire is that the magic will choose 13 people out of whoever puts their name in. And then the coven will choose like 6 or 7, something like that, out of those 13. And those 6 or 7 are who actually enters the trials. I think obviously we're going to get both Raven and Kirsi in there.
Do you think there's going to be a betrayal there?
Oh, right now, no.
I think
right now,
is.
You do? You think she's going to be a backstabbing friend? Oh, no. Okay, I think I'm going to stick with right now I'm going to say no.
Yeah. 44 page in, Nicole thinks
okay,
it's going to happen.
All right. That's fair.
So.
I mean, I feel like that's a common trope to have the best friend be somebody that you don't think that they are or something like that. But for now, I'm gonna go on the side of like, no, they're gonna have to like team up to do something and get through the trials together or something like that.
Yeah, so that's a much more optimistic outlook.
Well, we gotta split it a little bit, I guess.
All right, fair.
I also feel really bad for Nikos because I see him ending up with a very broken heart at the end of this.
Yeah. So I have a sticky note at the. I just by the end of the fifth chapter, I kind of feel like Miranda Lyn is purposely making him to be like a stick in the mud.
Yeah.
Like he's not terrible, but he's not perfect, right? He's not the gray, morally gray.
Yes.
You know, he's just like a guy who, like, if you assume, like, I don't know, like, this is a fantasy world, right?
Yes.
So, like, let's call it, like, if it was, like, the Middle Ages or whatever, where he's like, oh, I would really love for you to be at home, you know, raising the kids and stuff like that. That would be completely normal for that time.
Right.
But since I have no backstory, he's probably just a regular guy.
Yep.
Who is expecting, you know, like, he's like, oh, well, if you stopped working at the thing
at the cottage,
at the cottage, and there's nothing that says in here that they ever had an adult conversation about how important it is for her to work there.
Right.
You know,
exactly. Yeah, it definitely feels like I totally agree. I feel like he is just like a regular guy. I do get the feeling that he cares about her. Like, I do think that the feelings on his side are bigger than the feelings on her side. It almost feels like she's kind of just resigned herself. Like, she thinks of him as her best friend, but has kind of resigned herself to be like, well, we're going to end up together. So she kind of goes along with it. And he's just like, I love Raven. I will do whatever it takes to take care of her.
Right. Like, he's just like, I'll get a job. I'll do these things, you know, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And I feel like she's just making him out to be like a beige stick in the mud. And I feel like that's just so that way later when it comes to fucking
his heartbreak.
The sex shadow king or whatever, everybody forgets that Nikos exists. Yep. And you can come back later and be like, well, he really wasn't right for her.
Yep, exactly. 100%. Yep.
So I actually have like 3 more things that I want to talk about.
Tell me.
So I also, like, this is just things that I wrote down that, at this point, it's just things that I wrote down that bothered me.
Okay.
So,
great.
I guess maybe I'll start at the beginning here. So the first thing was when it's introduced and they find the body.
Oh, yes. It feel like the fake grandma.
Yeah, the coven leader. They find her dead by the king. Does everybody act so chill about it?
So chill.
That it's, like, suspicious to me.
Yes.
They're like, oh, I found a body in a tree or something like that. Yes. And then you're like, they're like, oh, Nikos, can you pick it up and carry it home? And they just walk off arm in arm together joking.
Yeah. It kind of felt like maybe they were just setting up that they were so used to these threshings happening that it was just like they were desensitized to it almost. But in this particular case, it's somebody who Raven was super fucking close to.
Yes.
So why didn't you have any feelings?
Right. It's your replacement grandmother.
Yes.
It's your coven leader.
Yes.
And like you said, she's using it to set the stage for how terrible it is to be a witch. Yes. Yet there's no emotion.
No.
Like,
and how terrible the bad king, what's his name? Something King.
I don't know. That's one of my second problems. Is she introduces like 12 people in the first 2 pages.
She really does.
And they all have weird ass names. So like I don't know.
It does feel like some of them are not important, so it was easy to like quickly be like, I don't need to remember you.
Right. But at the same time, that doesn't help me because
Right.
I already struggle with names, and you're throwing 30 names at me in the first 15 pages, and I don't know who's important.
Right. No, that's very true. That's very true.
Don't do that to me.
No.
Yeah.
Well, there's one thing I forgot to mention. Kirsi has a familiar, and I'm in love with this cat already. I don't know why, but this panther is my best friend. And his name is Scoop.
I have to know, how did she get a panther? Like, when she said that the familiar was a panther, I went back and looked at the map on the front. Because I was like, where is the jungle in this map? What island has a jungle?
To be fair, the panther can also be a kitten. Remember? So maybe it was just a kitten, and then it was like one day it was just like, guess what? I'm also a panther.
Like, fuck you up. Yeah. I looked at it and I was like, I don't see anywhere for this fucking panther to live on these islands. Like, where did the panthers come from?
I think you might be thinking too much about it.
I am. I know I am.
Step back.
I know I am, but it still is a valid question. How did she get a fucking panther? And I'm gonna go with she can't be trusted.
Oh. Okay. She stole the panther from another world. I'm gonna just go with the fact that she met her familiar as a cat, and one day the cat was like, hello, I'm really a panther.
Or maybe them becoming bonded or something gave him an extra power or something. Yeah, gave him the ability to shapeshift or something.
Ooh.
Or maybe he's a shifter.
You think it's actually a human pretending to be? What does a shifter mean, though? Do we know what a shifter? We don't know if a shifter means that they can shift like species, or can they shift like how they look. We don't know anything about the shifters.
I know, but what if the panther is like a dude?
I'm gonna go with like 50-50 on that. I don't think I'm sold on that theory.
I think it's a little bit better than aliens, Vanessa.
Yes, but I wasn't sure where you were going with it. I was, throwing things out. All right. Okay. My last point. Yes.
She talks several times about how she feels different than everybody else because she doesn't have her markings and stuff like that. And she also mentions a couple times that the reason she wants to do the Goblet of Fire is so she can prove to people that she has magic. I don't do magic. I know. I was like, that's what my sticky note says. It's like, what's stopping Raven from using her magic? Because she uses it in the ceremony to light a candle. Right. She uses it in her shop. She talks about how people come to the shop to see. I feel like if she would just do magic,
people would be like, oh, you have magic.
You have magic. And
you're a real life witch. Right.
And then it would also be less people there, like, wondering, like, oh, like, can she do magic? Go to this event, light a candle with magic in front of everybody. Okay, wow, you can do magic.
Yeah.
Now you don't have to join the Goblet of Fire.
Do you think
I get that's the point, but
do you think it comes back at all to the fact that they can't, like, they don't share all of their powers with everybody around, which also doesn't feel right to me because at some point, like, if you spend enough time with somebody, aren't they going to see all of your powers at some point? Yeah. I don't know. It feels weird. But that's my only thing is, like, maybe she hasn't really done anything because maybe her powers are such that she can't do that in front of people because she can't let people know what powers she has.
Yeah, and I get that. Like, you want to keep something back so that way, like, if you're in a witch's duel, I don't know, maybe you can, like, come at somebody with a... But, and I also wonder, like, maybe she doesn't know what power she has because she doesn't have anything to tell her. But,
exactly.
Yeah, I think this was a really difficult spot to stop because I don't think that there was enough... No focus was in one place in this first... It's like she tried to introduce everything in the first 45 pages. Yes. And... So instead of getting like, this is what magic is, this is what, blah, 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 blah. Now I just know that there's 30 people who have a varying amount of powers. and nobody knows what's going on, and everybody's dying. And
yes,
the witch
exactly.
has, and the king has sex shadows.
Most important part.
Depends on what you're reading it for.
That's right. Well, I will tell you, I'm very excited about. I'm very excited to keep going. I was very upset that I had to stop. But yes, I am excited for the next section to see what happens.
I wouldn't say I'm excited, but I'm not. I'm not out yet.
Okay, great. All right, so this next section is chapters 6 through 13. In this section, we basically little breakdown of what happens here. It's the start of the Chosen's journey. It's basically from the point that they put their name in the Goblet of Fire to the point of them getting to the Black Castle to start the actual trials. So that's what all of chapter 6 through 13 is.
Exactly.
Yeah, so if you didn't know already, Raven and Kirsi are obviously 2 of the 13 that are chosen. And after they enter their blood. Okay, first, before we get into any of the things, Raven's mom is pissed. And she says, you have no idea what you've done.
Yeah, I actually have a sticky note about that.
Do you? Because that feels like... I feel like I should have some sort of theory about this. Because what the fuck does that mean? You have no idea what you've done.
Yeah, so I had, I guess, a problem with this because my problem is why does there have to be secrets? You have an adult child.
Yes.
Like,
tell her, like, if there's a family curse or something, like, tell her why she should not do this.
It'd be different if it was like, oh, I don't know, maybe like a small secret. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what it consists of a small secret. Maybe you don't want to be embarrassed or something. Like, I don't know. But
sure,
if it's really life or death, like, you will die.
Right.
If you do this.
Yes.
I feel like you need to get over whatever is keeping you from being able to, like, have a conversation.
Yes.
This book would be way more straightforward.
Yes.
If her parents were just like, all right, your mom is actually a shadow person.
Right, exactly. Like, there's some reason why, some lineage there, some curse, something that's happened that made it to where, like, you should not enter these trials. But at this point, it's hard to understand because, like, her grandma had gone through the trials, right? She just didn't end up being leader, but her grandma went through the trials. So, like, to me, it feels there's got to be something that happened since grandma went through the trials that makes it to where, I don't know, that felt very weird to me, that it was like, what have you done?
Also, my assumption is that the grandmother would have also known if there was a reason that she couldn't, and she's the one who made Raven promise to do it.
And kept pushing her into, like, yes, if this ever comes up, you should put your name in the trials. Yes. Okay, well, glad we're on the same page about that. Also, in the same vein of this, before we get into anything else, Nico's needs some help, man, because he says, I'm going to have to forbid you. Okay, sir. I was on your side until this moment.
So, one, I agree. Like, that's no way to talk to your lady.
That's right.
And, Raven breaks up with him. But we're only 50 pages in.
Yeah.
Like, that is not enough time to build a backstory.
No.
Enough time for me to determine if Nick's high-handedness is him being a jerk, him
being heartbroken, him
right,
something.
Like, where is this coming from? Because the beginning, like I said, 50 pages is not enough to set the story. So, like, the only thing that I can imagine here is she's just, like I said earlier, clearing the way for this Shadow King.
Yep. Yeah, that's kind of what it feels like to me, too. it just felt very weird because it didn't seem, he seemed more like a supportive best friend. So for him to come in and be like, I forbid you, I was like, whoa, bro.
Yeah, slow down.
A little excessive. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
so
I didn't understand where all the flip-flopping was happening and like stuff like that. So I don't know.
Yes. Okay, so now we're basically into the part now. So in the first section, we had said that 5 are eliminated before they even get into the trials. So one thing that I was confused about was I thought that the Moon Coven, like their actual coven, is who kicks out the 5. But as we find out in this section, each coven chooses one that does not make it to the trials. And so even getting into this, I was like, why are the other covens involved? I got so confused, but now we know it's not it's not your coven that chooses. It's all of the covens that choose. So,
Yeah. And before we get into, cause I was wildly mistaken and I apparently didn't pay that much attention because I have a sticky note that's like, oh, the trials have started. It's not the trials.
No.
But also the Dark King's messenger is there and I had it an incorrect, what I'm assuming is an incorrect theory. And I was like, is this guy really the king? And he's just pretending to be the messenger or whatever.
Turns out no.
Turns out there is you meet the king later.
Yeah.
And it's not Gray.
No.
But I'm still holding out that maybe he's just like a stand-in.
Ah. Okay. So you still think that they could be switched? I don't know. So now that we know that this Dark King has like wings and shit, I don't see it being Gray anymore. Like I definitely think the man who has wings is the king.
Yeah. So I was trying to think of ways I could spin this to make myself be right. And I was like, well, I mean, Gray is in the room every time he does magic. Maybe.
True.
You know, maybe he's doing the magic. He's putting wings on this guy. And then at the end where I think he's in the bedroom. And there's no Gray that I'm aware of. Like, I was like, all right, well, I'm probably wrong. So
in that same vein, though, I did write down somewhere a little bit later, I'm not fully convinced that she ends up with the Dark King. Like, her and Gray have some weird chemistry happening. And so I'm starting to feel like I'm unsure. I don't know if it's romantic chemistry yet or if it's like some sort of like something's going to happen to where he's going to have to like save her or something. But there's something weird between Gray and Raven.
Yeah, and I couldn't, to your point, I couldn't tell if it was them trying to do that thing where like there's like they have that back and forth that where they're just like really like snarky with each other and it really works. And I didn't really feel like that. I just felt like he was like saying things and she was just like, fuck you. What is going on?
Yes.
So I wasn't sure if that was banter or...
Agreed, because it was pretty much just him. I don't know. It was almost like he wanted to help her, but she was like, no. So I don't know. Maybe it was trying to be banter.
Yeah.
Unknown.
Still more to see.
Yeah, more to see. I still, basically going into the next section, though, I do have a lot of questions about Gray. So there's that. So we get some information before we start the 5 to be eliminated. We do get a little bit of information basically saying that the trials were curated by the ancestors to test them. It's not for the weak, the tender-hearted, or the submissive. We know that. And, okay, so in the first little... whatever non-trial they have to choose a card and a blessing will be divined within the choice, and Raven chooses death twice. So first of all, when she first drew the death card, I was like, oh, you should just keep that, like, because if you know anything about tarot cards, death does not mean you die. So I was like, you should just keep it. And the fact that she chose it twice, like, I was like, obviously you should have kept it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have the same sticky note.
Okay.
I just like, because she picks, like you said, she picks it and she's like mildly freaking out. And I have the same sticky note. That death card does not mean death. Not literally. And so I was just like, what kind of witches are these? That they
who don't know this.
And then I also had I had to look this up because I was so confused about why is her tarot deck 37 cards?
Because she's a special witch.
Well, I was trying to figure out if there was like some meaning behind that or anything like that, because 37 cards in a tarot deck is weird. A traditional deck has 78. Your major arcana is 22. The math doesn't math. So I was just...
Did you find anything about that number?
No. I kept different ways of typing in 37 cards in a tarot deck. And I mean, basically it came down to that's not a common number in a tarot deck. Maybe it's a specialized deck, but it's still 22 major arcana, and she obviously has the major arcana in there because the death card's in there. So like, I was just
trying to think of some number that could be associated with the moon coven in some way.
So like, I don't know. So I think that bothered me because it's not a traditional number, and I recognize I got hung up on this. It's not a traditional tarot card number, but it's not explained. Why is the deck 37?
Maybe it will come later in the book. I doubt it. I highly doubt it.
Yeah.
In this section, though, I do see there was a quote that said, "The Dark King may very well be death himself. Do not let yourself be coaxed by death." And I was like, cough, cough, Raven. So I was like, this feels very foreshadowing to me of it being like, do not let yourself be coaxed by death. And then also in the same breath being like, the Dark King may be death.
Yeah. Like,
so
can you club me over the head any harder?
Yep. So there's that. Okay.
So I have one more thing to say about this. Something else that bothered me. And I'm not asking for this book to be drawn out, but I was really confused and irritated and whatever, is like only a couple cards were talked about. So only a couple witches cards were talked about. Obviously, specifically Ravens was talked about in, at length.
Right.
But we don't ever hear what the other witches cards really any of. And I think that's the thing that irritated me the most about all these pre-trials is, besides like the windy bridge,
right?
You don't really hear like what the other witches are doing,
right? What the outcome for them is, or like whatever, which could come into play later when they're doing the trials together. Yeah. Like I don't even think we find out what Kirsi's card was, right?
I don't think so. I don't remember.
I don't think so. Mm-mm.
Yeah. So like I was kind of irritated by that because you only hear what Raven has, maybe one or two other witch, and then if the witch was being removed from the trials, you heard what they picked or didn't pick, or what happened to them. So I don't know.
Okay, that's fair. In this little section, we found out just some more information kind of about the trials themselves, basically why the king is the overseer of the trials, and it's because the leader of the coven with the greatest power always hosts the trials, and the Fire Coven has been the most power for 573 years. And I feel like this might be some foreshadowing, again, that maybe that Raven and the Moon Coven could potentially take the place of the most powerful leaderships, whatever.
Maybe.
I feel like that's what we're leading towards. I mean, who knows if it will be Raven specifically, or if it will be Raven in the Moon Coven. But because it could end up, what if Raven ends up being sucked into the fire coven? We don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, but yeah. So, and the fire coven does not do trials because they are the only royal coven. And so their leader is chosen by blood and not by trials. So there's that. Oh, we also got a little more grimoire information in this section. And we got, because I think in the last section we had talked about not understanding why they put the first and last drop. And in this section they talked about it's because that blood recycles the power back into the coven. Right. So we got that information.
Yeah, which I was appreciative of, because at the end of the last section I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, why do we do this? Who cares about this? Oh, and we also learned that the Moss Coven hasn't been able to recycle power and is growing weaker right now. So basically, in the last section, didn't we learn that you can request, because the king has stolen all of the grimoires or whatever, and so you can request to go see your grimoire and put your blood or whatever. So basically, is that them telling us that the Dark King is basically like, nope, Moss Coven, you're not allowed to come.
Yeah, or if they're just not doing it out of spite.
They're just allowing themselves to get weaker. Oh, that's not good. Okay, so yes, in this next section, they must cross the plank bridge. Mm-hmm. And she used a spell to steady the board. This section felt, this particular thing felt very, as my sister would say, very nothing burger. Mm-hmm. Like, you literally, all of them had spells that they could use. All of them had spells that they, like, was that the point? Just to show that you had a spell that could make you go across?
Yeah, I don't know. I actually felt all of these pre-trials were pretty garbage.
Yeah, especially the candle.
Yeah.
You're just lucky that you didn't pick that candle. I don't know. So, I don't know. Okay, anyway. So, that's the end on that one. Mm-hmm. I just felt like it was ridiculous. Like, okay, so she used the spell that steadied the board. Like, okay, cool. What did that teach you? What did that help you with? What did that anything?
Yeah, and that's kind of why I said what I said, like, and I maintain it. Like, what are these trials doing? Mine is giving the other covens an opportunity to get people removed, right? And that one lady, like you said with the candle one, she was like, I don't have fucking time for this, just pick a candle.
Yeah, exactly. So the only thing I can think of is, like, in this case, like, with, because Raven ends up saving that witch that fell, was this just our way of showing, like, the book's way of showing Raven's character, that she's gonna choose to save somebody over allowing somebody to die, even though they're gonna be, like, they're her competitor, like, maybe that's the point of this.
Like maybe that in itself is a little bit of foreshadowing too. Like,
yeah.
Is she gonna, in the end, is she gonna not be the coven leader because she's gonna, like, Kirsi get it over her because of something, right?
Like, choose to save somebody else's whatever.
Right. And she's gonna go live with her morally gray king in the fire.
He's not fucking morally gray. He is just fucking villain. Like, I have that written down later. There's nothing morally gray about that king.
We don't know that, though.
No, yes, we do. For right now. Okay, we'll get to it.
Okay.
We'll get to it. Hold on. Because we haven't met him yet. In the next one, we get, they're at the Storm Coven, and Willow messes with Scoop. First of all, don't touch my cat. Thank you very much.
That was so dumb.
Yes. Why would you do that?
Like, like I said, these are, like, some of the worst witches. Like, they're like,
fucking terrible.
I'm not a witch. And, like, but I know that, like, from reading about witches, that, like, your familiar is basically you, right? An extension of yourself. Yes. Why would you choose to fuck with somebody else's familiar, right?
Yeah, no, that's a stupid decision. Yeah. And then, okay. other witch cast the spell on Raven that made it to where she couldn't move. It felt like it was supposed to be so much bigger, and it ended up like it literally had no consequences. There was nothing. They were just like, oh, you can't move, then just sit right there and do your spell. And so she did that, and then everything was fine. Like, it felt like it was meant to be something huge, and then it was nothing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That was weird to me.
Yeah, it kind of, like you were saying, it felt like all this lead up, like, you know, and then
nothing.
Yeah,
she just got to sit there, like, okay, you still get to do your
twilighted.
spell. It twilighted. Yes, built itself up, and then it fell flat. It was just nothing. Again, I'm gonna skip over because the next thing is they do the candle, blah blah blah. So after they all make it through that, then they all get to the carriages. So the next thing that also feels like it should have been a bigger deal is Grey gets in her carriage. And it felt like it was supposed to me, that felt like, oh man, something's about to happen. Like some shit's about to go down. Like he just got in her carriage. He literally just told everyone, don't talk to anyone, don't do anything, get in your fucking carriage and we're going to go. And then he gets in her carriage and they're just like rude to each other for 4 pages. And then they're there. Like,
right. And that I kind of, like you were saying, like, was there supposed to be a point to that? Because I just felt like that was just a way to give them FaceTime so that way she could develop conflicting feelings for him.
Like some sort of love triangle situation or something. Yeah.
And I was just, like, when he got in her carriage, I was like, oh, wow. Nobody saw that coming. Like,
yes. This is where I wrote down about the morally gray stuff. Okay. So the Dark King, first of all, I have like bullet points here. First of all, just his voice gets her going. Good Lord. Calm down. Second, he has wings. What the fuck? Third, he literally just killed a man in front of them. The man comes in and says something about his family, and he's just like, yeah, fuck you, and kills him. Okay. So I'm usually on board with a morally gray character. I am totally fine with a morally gray character when they are making decisions that maybe are bad, but have good intentions, right? Good underlying intentions. What are the good intentions? We've already learned that he killed 2 people or whatever it was before they even got there because they were trying to help their family out. This guy was trying to do something good and he was just like, no, fuck you. You broke the rules. I'll kill you. That's not morally gray. There's nothing there. You can't tell. There's no story that you can tell me where it turns his action into a morally gray action.
He has sex shadows.
No, that does not make him morally gray. That just makes him a straight villain, and she just accepts it because of his sex shadows.
And his sexy voice, and his wings, and...
Apparently, like...
Yeah.
I'm leaning, after meeting him and realizing who he is, I want her to end up with Grey. Fuck the Dark King.
Oh, yeah, that's probably what's gonna happen.
Yes.
But, like, because... I don't know. I don't, like, in my mind, I was like, how is this guy, like, kind of like you said, how is this guy morally great? There's gonna be something where, it's not a great excuse, but it's like, I didn't kill those witches. I didn't do this stuff. Like, I have to do these, I have to take the grimoires because I have to stop something. I have to do... Like he's got a curse on him or something like that to where, like, if he doesn't do it, everybody will die. Right. Like, I don't know. I feel like that's what we're building up to, though. Yeah. Like, there's going to be some reason why he has to do all the things that he's doing, and it's not going to be a great reason. But it gives him that morally gray line, basically. It gives him that, like, excuse that makes him tolerable. Yeah. Right. And she's going to want Grey. Right. And at the end, the king's gonna like tell her these things, and he's gonna be like, and if you don't help me, all of your coven is gonna die. And she's gonna be like, all right, Kirsi is now the coven leader, and I'm gonna go off with the king and sacrifice myself. And but I really want Gray.
But I really want Gray. Yes. So all right, I like that we're kind of both in the same like headspace of thinking of I'm interested to see where it turns, honestly. Like I want to see how it ends up. So then we kind of end this section with the king shows up in her room, just like poof, I'm here. And she tells him that she's not afraid, even though we all know that she is.
Yeah, she's pretty comfortable being snarky with this guy.
So she's so fucking mouthy. Like, what are you doing? You are an idiot.
He literally just killed a man for asking for, like, food, or I can't remember what, for help with something. And she's like, and nope,
you're being an asshole. Yes. And then he gives her a gift for her fearlessness. And the gift is a doorway into Kirsi's room, which, okay. You literally just told him, like, she tells him, I think you're afraid, and that's why you don't let us talk to each other. And so then he's like, here's a door so you can talk to each other. Like, was that just a way of... Why would he care? Like, is that a way of him being like, see, I'm not afraid. You can talk to whoever you want. Or like... I don't know. It feels very, I almost feel, because why else would he be acting like that to her? Is there some sort of fated situation? Is there some sort of cursed situation? We're back to a curse because, like, maybe her mom knows something, which is why her mom said, like, you don't know what you've done, because there's some connection between her and the Dark King. Maybe Gray is actually like a family member. And so Gray is like trying to protect her in some way without telling her.
Maybe.
I don't like that. It's okay.
I'd have to go back and read the banter section.
Yeah.
Because I felt like, if I'm remembering correctly, it felt little like sexy time
sexual
banter.
Yeah.
So I'm
it did feel that way.
I'm not sure how I feel about an uncle.
Listen, I'm not happy with my theory. I'm not on board with this theory. I'm just saying, like, what if there's something there? Okay.
Okay. All right. I'll accept this.
All right.
It's obviously wrong theory.
Yes. Okay. Well, I'm sure we'll have plenty of them. All right, well, that is what finished out this section. Mm-hmm. All right, so into the next section. We are now in chapters 14 through 24. And basically this section is the start of the trials. And we get about, like, this section gets us from the start of the first trial to about halfway through the trials. So that's the big overview of this section.
I'm glad you just told me we're halfway through, because I thought there was going to be like 10 trials. And I was like, fuck, we're only at 2. Like, how long does this go on for?
Well, we learned in this section that it's the magic that chooses like what the trials are and all that. So who knows, however many, like there might have been, I wonder if there's other times where like there was 100 trials, and then sometimes where there was like 2 trials.
One trial.
That's it. Okay, so in at the beginning of this section, so it was when they all were poisoned. But the first thing I thought, like, because she said that she was feeling queasy, and then she like did magic, and she said she felt worse. I was like, oh no, her magic is making her sick. Which I guess was kind of true, but it was also that was the first thing I wrote down as like a theory, and then immediately it was like, oh, they were poisoned. And I was like, well, that theory is out. Oh, dang it. So yes,
they're all poisoned.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just like, okay, well, that's more interesting than pick a spoon or something like that.
Yes.
So I was happy with that.
Yes, I do think that the first trial was much better than the like, what candle did you get? Or like, all that kind of stuff. Pick your card. So yeah, the first one is they're all poisoned, and Raven immediately knows like what the poison is and what the remedy is, and the remedy or antidote or whatever is fucking crazy. Like, why did you think they were going to be able to find all of this shit?
Right.
Yes. And she has troll friends, which I thought was adorable.
Yeah, I was glad that they were in the book earlier and they just didn't show up.
Yes.
Because, and realistically, I wasn't looking for it either, but I didn't, when she introduced him in the beginning and then he showed up later, I was like, oh.
Yes.
Good job.
Yes, exactly.
Who else was in this? Who else did you talk about in the beginning? So I had to go back and like do a little bit of peeky peek and see if she talked about anybody else.
I do think it was good that they established early on that while most of the like different species didn't talk, the fact that they ran this little cottage and they accepted everybody, I think I liked it that they established that early, right? That they were like accepting of everyone. So then when we got to this point, like you said, it wasn't just like the trolls are here and they're going to help. It was like, she's helped them in the past. So, yeah. So yeah, after the antidote was given to everyone, the king was there waiting for her at the end.
Also, the fact that this Onks guy, or whatever, how the fuck you say this guy's name, tries to murder everybody. Like, man, we're already Onyx? There. Onyx? Ah, yes. That makes much more sense. I was like, Onks? What's fucking word?
Onyx.
Onyx.
Yes.
Like Onyx Storm or Onyx something.
Like
whatever
the stone
the
or
book.
Well, yes, but the
stone.
The actual like the gemstone is onyx. It's okay.
Yeah,
we love you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But yes, he does. Onyx tries to literally kill everyone all the time.
Right. Yes,
even after the king told them last time, literally don't hurt your other people.
Stop killing people, and he's like, no.
I will not.
I'm gonna keep killing
yes,
people.
Exactly.
You say that, and just like how Raven acts in this book, for them seeing how murdery the king is, none of them care.
Literally, none of them care.
They do not care about not doing what this guy says. He's like, don't do that, because look, I will murder you. And she's like, you know what, I'm gonna sass you back, and then for less, and then like Onyx is like, oh, you told me not to murder people? I'm gonna do it again. I'm just like,
yep.
This king needs to, he's murdering the wrong people.
He really is. You're right.
Sorry. I digress.
That's okay. He is. So he's also fucking with Raven a lot. So that's what I literally wrote down in chapter 16. Why does the king keep fucking with Raven? Get the fuck out of my room, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I did write down in chapter 16, the dialogue has gone off the deep end. Fuck, it's awful.
Yeah, so I think I write it down later. I know I have a sticky note somewhere in there. It gets really high school, if that makes sense.
I literally wrote down, because I wrote, the dialogue gets crazy, and he says, what do you want from me? I think you know. And I was like, what? Why? No, we don't know. Please explain it.
Yeah, like
it did.
Like it's that, like, I don't know, high school drama, but I'm still trying to be like, I don't know.
I'm still a king. I'm still like a all-powerful magical king.
Witty and stuff like that. And
yeah. Also in this chapter, we learned that somebody else was trying to get her sick. So she didn't have the harrowing, but she had when she had those symptoms of like whatever. And the king is actually who saved her. So we learned that.
Yeah.
Which why?
But never explained why.
Yeah, we still don't know why you saved her, why you were even there. Like, so I don't know. I feel like there's something, if I have to go with a theory, there's something about her, which is, it's not a very sound theory, but there's something about her that he is like connected to. Like they have some fated thing. It has to be some fated thing where he had to go save her because whatever. Anyway, in the next chapter,
he knows her secret or something, right? You know.
Well, so he's very confused, right? The thing that he ends up saying that he wants to know, like, you know why I'm here, is because he wants to find out why her marks don't show. So clearly, like, he doesn't know everything about her, but.
Or maybe he does, and he's just testing to see how much she knows.
You think?
I don't know. I still have suspicions about her family.
Yeah.
So part of me, I'm trying to give the benefit of the doubt here and be like, maybe he's just asking because he wants to know how much she knows.
Okay.
And she's like, I don't know. And he's like, because he drops it pretty quick.
He does.
He's like, yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I also have a question at the beginning of chapter 16 when they stumble across that body and they're like, I killed him. And
then nothing else.
And then nothing else. And then, like, Ophelia comes in last place, and she just basically, like, collapses on the floor next to the dead body, and the king is like, and she disappears. Nobody is like, where did she go? Like, that would be the first thing I would say is, like, what did you do to her? Did she die? Everybody's just like,
yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna... All right, well, I'll go back to my room and take a bath.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But
so,
all this dialogue to what you were saying just felt like, you know, it was. I thought it was weird, just like you did. It's all weird conversation, and it just felt like trying to build a relationship or a foundation for a relationship, but maybe the relationship wasn't, or you know, like it's just not there.
Nope.
I don't know. It was all meant to be like witty banter, and it's just not quite there.
Yeah, because I feel like all of that quote unquote witty banter in that one then translates into like chapter 17 when he is like literally always around, like listening to her, sending her notes, forcing her to eat. It's like this immediate he cares about her, and then shows up when she refuses to read his notes. I don't know. I feel like I guess this is where he changed the rules and says that they can no longer harm each other, which they don't really listen to. And then and this is also where I'm starting to feel more like there's something with Gray. Like this is where he helps her out of the dress and like nothing happens, but like I feel he cares about her.
I know. I even said, because like, oh, so this is where the love, I don't know. I said square. The love square
the
begins
love square.
Because I would say triangle, but you have to include Nico.
We still have Nico's. Yep.
Yeah. So.
And I feel like I don't know if I have a theory on why Gray, unless, okay, I just thought of something. Because unless the king and Raven are fated in some way, and Gray, being the king's cousin, has some sort of like tie to it, right? Like some sort of, there's some skin in the game for him for the fated people to end up together and support of his cousin, basically. But I'm getting vibes that he loves her.
I don't know. Love is pretty strong.
Okay.
But I mean,
I feel like that he cares about her in some way. Like he wants to like take care of her. He wants to whatever. Not in the same way that the king is taking care of her, but like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just getting that vibe.
Yeah. And then also like, I don't know. And then I feel like you could be right. And then, but there's also the red herrings that he's like, you know, flirting with Willow and even what's her name? Brienne or something
whatever,
like that.
Yeah, whatever her name is.
Yeah, whatever the other girl's name is. He's even like
Brea.
started like Brea. Even started flirting with her a little bit. Like, I didn't know if those were red herrings or...
I almost feel like it's because he knows that from the way he's treating Raven, he has to make it seem like he's not showing her favoritism. He's now going off and like flirting with the other ones too. So I don't know. So the next section, we get into the next trial, which was a weird, trippy trial where they...
Oh, with like the four, like...
They had to make it through the maze or whatever.
Oh, is it the maze one you're talking about? I thought you were talking about the one where she gets like the giant fire serpent or something.
Oh,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah. That's
the second one.
I guess I was calling it a maze as well, but
okay.
Because don't they they basically have to make their way through in a timed effort, right?
Yeah.
So,
and it's like the 4 like elements or something like that. So yeah.
And that one, one that was really hard for me to follow. I literally had no idea what was going on at any given time.
There wasn't. I didn't really think that there was a lot of like description. There. Yeah. Because she's like, the thing is broken and I have to walk across and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what are you walking across?
Okay, great.
I thought the bridge collapsed. Like, I don't know what's going on.
I'm glad it wasn't just me. And because I thought at first I thought it was me and just my inability to picture it. But I think what you're saying is probably more true, that there wasn't information there for us to even kind of come up with what was happening.
Yeah. The problem with having more is everything has less, if that makes sense. Like more trials, but you only have one book. So you have to, and if you're explaining more than one person going through the trials, then, I mean, I didn't hate that trial, but it really came down to just like 3 pages of description.
Yep, it did.
And she was, like whole thing. Like, I don't even know if they talked about the last 2 trials. They was just like the water, the fire serpent, and then like I passed through the other 2 and I was out. And
and she basically just had to jump into the hole, and she was like, "Oh, that's how you get out of here."
Yep. I have to go down into the crevasse.
Yes, exactly. But also in this section, we get a lot of letters between them as the king is standing there waiting for the other people to finish. And I wanted to ask you, Miss Nicole, who loves letters, how did you feel about these letters?
So I was going to bring this up at the end. Okay. But I'll bring it up and talk about it now.
Okay.
So at first I wasn't a fan. Okay. And then we got to chapter 19 and I'm hating them less. I
actually really liked them.
Yeah, so I'm actually hating them less. Yes. And I've been going to the end of the book.
Okay.
And this is a surprise. So far she's gotten for this book a 0.5 star for it being a book.
Okay.
And another 0.5 star because I like letters. So far this book has 1 star. So she better pick up the game because we're halfway through.
Oh no.
I'll come up with more 0.5 stars, I'm sure. But
okay, so I'll tell you, before we started this section, I was at a 4.
Oh.
I think by the end of this section I'm at a 3. So we'll see if it holds as a 3. But
yeah. Yeah, so I like the letters.
Yes.
I really enjoy that part.
Yes.
I think it's really cute.
It is.
But I do have some problems with them.
Okay.
Like, one of them is not the letters. I don't have a problem with the letters. Okay. But he does get more, like, likable.
Yes.
Because of the letters.
Agreed.
But because he's getting more likable, Raven is becoming more unlikable to me.
How? How did that... Why?
I know
because of the way she responds to him, or what?
Yes, because he's becoming like this like chatty Cathy and this like gray hero and stuff, and she's like all of a sudden at a page 164, she's already like smiled at his jokes and she's bantering with him and stuff like that, and then in this one she even casually. Like, she's just casually mentioning his his casual murders.
Yes.
You know what I mean? She's like, oh, and he murdered all those people. That's fine. But at least he makes me smile. Right. And I was just like, what in the fuck? Because she then turns around not even like 20 pages later or 40 pages later, and she's like, I can't trust him because he's a murderer. Bitch, you just flirted with him.
I do. I agree. I will agree with you there that she's very wishy-washy. Where,
yes, thank you.
Yes,
okay.
Where she, like, when he's being flirty and talking with her, which the reason why I really liked the letters was also because I feel like we got more personality from him. We got obviously more like conversation from him. I liked that he switched up like what he was calling her and how he signed off on the letters. Like, I thought all of that was fun. I do feel like you said, like, at some point we have to find out why his bad things that he's doing are gray and not just terrible villain things, right?
Right.
But in her talking to him and falling for him and like all that kind of stuff kind of gives us the idea that she's starting to like maybe not pay attention to that shit as much, but then immediately turning around and being like, oh yeah, I forgot, I hate him.
Right.
I hate that part of books. Like, if you're gonna love the gray guy or the bad guy or whatever, then just fucking do it. Like, don't go back and forth and be like, I hate him, I love him, I hate him. Like, that is so annoying.
Yeah, she's really, to that point, she's really compartmentalizing who he is. Like, almost like he's two different people.
Yes.
Like, she really, she really loves him as, like, the flirty, like, letters guy and stuff like that. And then she's getting special treatment, and he's giving her all these nice things. And then she's like, oh, but yeah, my grimoire.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah, and I mean, he helped her in all of the trials so far. He's helped her.
Yeah. Yeah, she's getting special treatment, and she's like,
yes. Just
I don't know. Just own it. I don't know.
I don't know either. So I will tell you, in chapter 20, I wrote down. So I have been liking Gray, right? I've liked Gray. The Raven. I mean, the King has whatever. He started pulling me in with the letters. I might be on the King side now. And in chapter 20, I wrote, I may have flipped. I think I like the King. I'm such a sucker. Because I also the note that he sent that says, Raven, please come back to me, or please come back is what he says when he allows them to leave. He says, Raven, please come back. That note got me immediately. I was like, oh no, I'm so sad for you. You just want her to come back.
Yeah. This part of the book really confused me.
When we leave and go to the Hollows party. Okay. Yes.
Yeah. So I have one more thing to say before we get into that.
Okay. Yes.
But it goes back to what we were saying earlier with the childishness. And like, this is where I was done.
Okay.
Is the part where Gray, they're talking and Gray like pulls the chair out from under them. And he's like, oh, oops, like the equivalent of I didn't see you there. I didn't know my own strength or something. I was like, that's it. I'm over it.
I think that's the turn for Gray, because that's when they're in the hall, right? They're all hanging out in that room or whatever. Yeah, I feel like that is the turn for Gray. Before that moment, Gray was like this stoic king's man that's like there to oversee everyone, is just like, don't fuck with me. And then that moment happened, and everything from that moment, which I also wrote down as we get into like the All Hallows, whatever, he's a completely different person from that point on.
Yeah.
What happened to him? He became like this high school or like early 20 dude that's just like, hey man, I'm here to hang out and be your best friend.
Right.
Like, yeah. I'm so confused.
Yeah. I didn't understand. Yeah. I don't understand the swap, flip-floppies, but I also, like I was saying earlier, I don't understand this part of the book, the whole going home thing. Like,
because we didn't get anything out of it. They went to the festival for like 30 seconds. They like that was the whole point, I thought, was to like this whole tradition of doing this whole thing at the festival and everything. Like, the only thing we got out of this section is that Gray is now part of the friend group, and and she got a new power,
the unlock spell.
Yes. Like, other than that, this going home was nothing. She didn't have a conversation with her parents. I guess it was to, like, bring in Nikos, maybe, to show that, like, she wasn't gonna go back with him.
Yeah, maybe, but she never even commits to that, because she starts having those fucking dreams that I'm not 100% sure if the king is actually in the dreams or not. Like, or if that's just her dreams.
So, okay, yep. Okay, before we get to the dream, hold on.
Okay.
So we find out Nikos and Raven decide to be friends. Literally within 8 hours, Nikos is like, I don't want to be friends. And I was like, bro, this was your idea.
And then mom shows up and is like, come with me. And he's like, I don't know you.
Yeah, it was so fucking weird. Okay, so then right after all that happens, it was whatever. We get the dreams. My theory is it's not a dream. It's happening in real life. He's going to bring it up at some point. Like, he's going to make a comment to her at some point, and she's going to be like, oh shit, that's really happening. Yes. Which, why she doesn't already know that it's real is confusing.
Yeah, I assumed that whole thing at the beginning with Nikos and Gray coming to, like, their festival thing was just a way for there to be more time given to Gray and Nikos to develop that love square.
Yeah, yes, the love square is now fully intact. I also think it showed, because the king brought up Nikos in the dream at some point, asked if he was gonna, if she was gonna, like, go back with him, and I was like, oh, so now we're bringing some jealousy into it. Like, now we're bringing in, so,
And she doesn't answer. She's just like, So.
Does she not? I mean, does she not ever give, like, an answer?
She doesn't. No, if it's really a dream, it doesn't matter.
Right.
So, yeah, she just jumps his bones and tries to have sex with him.
Yes.
So.
I think. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's real. It's really happening. She's really.
Yeah, she's a bonehead for not considering that
it could be real, because he's literally there all the time, listening to everything and all that kind of stuff. Like, even when she was saying whatever in what's her name in her friend's room,
Kirsi's room.
Yeah. And then she got that letter from him, like, made it clear that he was listening. So I think she should just assume dream, awake, this room, that room, whatever, wherever you literally are, he can hear what you're saying and doing.
Bro knows what's going on.
Yes. Yeah. There's some connection between the two of them that allows him. Because I don't know if I'm convinced that he could do that with everyone. I feel like there's some connection. Maybe he can. Maybe he's just choosing to send her his little love letters only.
Maybe.
Or, like,
yeah, I mean, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure he can do the letters with anyone, but the dream walking, I would be interested to know if that's just a her or an everyone thing.
Hopefully we find out. And then we finish out this section with the maze trial that we were talking about earlier, which was weird. It was weird to me.
I didn't like it at all. Whereas the first one, I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. It's better than the pre-trials. Yes. The second one, minus how, like, limited in description it was, I was like, okay.
Still
she had
interesting.
To use magic, and she had to be a witch. And then the third one was just blindly fumble through a sex maze for her, right?
Right.
Like, because, oh my God, I'm in this maze, and it's his shadows, and I'm now completely turned on, and then he's there.
Helping her through to get out to the other side. Through. Like, he's a cheater.
Oh, yeah. Just, I mean, if he really has the ability to just choose, just fucking do it.
Yeah.
Right. Especially if, like, I don't know, unless, like, I don't know. I don't know the backstory of the history of, like, this fucking coven or anything like that, but like, if this is something where it prevents him from, like, being with her or whatever, and that's why he doesn't want her to win. One, stop helping. But like,
well, no, he does want her to win.
Yeah, but that's what I don't understand. Like, if you want her to win, why? So you can, like, marry her and live happily ever after? Then just fucking say she won.
I don't have a theory, but at one point he does say, like, should I just kill everyone now? And then you're, by default, the winner. Like, so he wants her to win, but we don't know why he wants her to win. What does he benefit and gain from her winning? Yeah,
my only thought, but it's not well thought, is something to do, of course, with her unmarked powers. He needs her for something, for a reason that he's not saying, and
you think he's using her?
Yeah, but he's also he's also attracted to her. So I feel like that's going to be if you want to call it, the third act breakup. Yeah. So like I said, it's not a fully formed thought, but just kind of vibes.
Yes, got it. Okay. All right, well, that's the end of that section. All right, so this section is basically going to take us to the end of the book, and no, it is going to take us to the end of the book, and the reason I said basically is because the summary of this is basically the end of the trials and the end.
Yes.
Yes, we get through all the rest of the trials, and shit goes crazy. So I will just jump right into the next thing that happens, which is she finds the grimoires. And I feel like we didn't, like, we got some information about it, but I feel like the information doesn't come till much later that we get about the grimoires.
Yeah, so this is just a complaint, but, Raven's flip-floppiness, where she's like, I hate him again, so I'm gonna go look for the grimoires.
No, she doesn't. Does she leave to look for them, or does she leave because she's
room.
following Brea?
Well, she leaves her room because she's gonna go look. She's gonna leave her room, and while she's out there, she happens to come across Brea, who's also leaving her room. We don't know at the time that that's what she's doing. She's, that she's looking for the
grimoires.
The grimoires, but when you get to the room, you sure find out quick. So
she like dies instantly, like just crossing the. So immediately, as soon as she crosses and she dies, and then Raven doesn't die, I immediately was like, okay, there's something. There's something here. Like, why is she? So my guess, because we don't really ever get the answer as to why she wasn't affected by his wards, right? Like, even Gray was like, how did you not die? Well,
I think he mentions that. So the only reason I think I caught this, and maybe it's wishful thinking, because at the end of that chapter I wrote, is this what the secret is with her parents, that she is a fire coven?
So I wrote that. I didn't write down that was her parents, but I said either he allowed it, so he changed all the wards to allow her into the places,
right?
Or she has fire coven blood. Like that is my note, because
I went to the parents. Like,
okay, I do have something about her parents later, so I don't remember it off the top of my head. I'll have to remember it when I see it, but I did not go there though. So, but I don't think we ever find out for sure.
I think later in the book, Gray, because he's questioning her about it when he finds her, and I think he says something about only the Fire Kingdom can go in there or something.
Yeah, so that's why I was saying that. That's why I was saying that it either had to be that the king allowed it, or she has the fire blood. But I don't think we find out for sure which of those is true. Is what I mean.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Because we do have another option. We just don't know which one is. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And I think it important? Who the fuck knows?
Yeah, I think it might be if the fact that she's fire coven. I think it's important if that's the case. But I don't know. I feel like that's maybe why we haven't been told yet. So we still, also, we don't fully find out. We know that when all the books are together, it's super powerful.
Mm-hmm.
We know that that's how the castle turned black, because that's what Bastian's mom did. She put all of the things together and then cast a spell next to them, and it blew up the entire castle. Mm-hmm. So, like, we know that much, but, like, we don't actually... We end the book without knowing that much more about it, right? Okay, so let's jump into the next trial, which is... Well, I don't know. Is this a trial or when they're being questioned? Oh, it's not a trial. They're basically just being questioned because Brea was dead and they found the grimoire, blah, blah, blah. So they're doing this whole questioning thing. And he's still helping her out with notes. And the dude tries to hit Raven. And the king said, nope, fuck you.
Exactly. He was like, nope. Goodbye.
No. You shall not touch her. So now we get into the next trial.
Okay.
And this is the one where they're laying on the pillow and they go into their mind. One thing about this is he gives her a note on her pillow during this, and she stuffs it under the pillow, and we never find out what that note said. Mm-hmm. Which is annoying. But I'm really confused by this trial. Is this just a trial to show that you're strong-minded? That, like, you can find your way out if you ever get stuck in your mind?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I took from it, is that, like, you don't get so lost in your own that you, like, never come back or whatever.
Right.
And we lose another participant in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I'm skipping a little bit here, but I'm going to skip to the ball. And they're adorable with their little matching outfits.
Oh, so cute.
Mm-hmm. She is so stupid.
She's so dumb in this part of the book.
Yes, because this is the part where she gets taken out by, like, Nico shows up, because of course he would, and pulls her out as his betrothed, which, first off, all you had to do to stop the king from his jealousy ways is just be like, nah, bitch, we ain't betrothed, but I'm gonna go talk to my friend. Mm-hmm. So, but she's so stupid because she, like, immediately trusts everyone, right? She's just like, oh, even after everything the king has been telling her, like, all of the little stories that he's been telling her, all of the things, I think she still finds out more later, right? But as of right now, she's already heard things about the coven leaders that should make her question everything. And instead, she just goes in and is like, oh, you need that from me? Right. Oh, you want me to do this thing for you? Cool, I'll just do this thing.
Sure, I'll give you a blood oath.
Right. Like, she's so stupid. Mm-hmm. So now she's lost her power to receive any new powers. Mm-hmm. But she does gain the power of death. Which,
yes,
I don't know if that's a great payoff. Like, you now have a spell to kill people, but you're no longer...
You can't ever do it again. Or do it, you can't ever get another one again. Yeah.
Right.
Well, and it's also so fucking dumb on the part of the coven. Like, they barely questioned her. Mm-hmm. You know,
right,
she walks in and they're like, do you hate the king? And she's like, yeah, I'm not really sure about him. And they're like, all right, let's do this.
Right.
Like bitch, you just offered her the death card.
Yes. And they said that, like, you can't give it to everybody, right? There's only very few witches that can even hold that. Mm-hmm. Whatever. Like, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that part. It was very... There's just a lot of problems with it.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really like the trickery, but I also didn't like how, like, unthought out it felt. Mm-hmm. Like, the whole, like, we're going to give you the power to literally end anybody with a thought.
Yes.
and we're going to totally trust you in the fact that even though Nikos, who we find out has been in on it this whole time, has been 100% sure that Raven is falling for the king.
The king.
And they still do it. But I guess in the end, they knew that Nikos had that one ability to control or whatever, so maybe he was their fail-safe, right?
Yeah, I think that probably is true. That you say it that way, I'm totally on board with that. Like, he was the fail-safe. If she didn't do it on her own, then he was just going to be commanded to command her to do it.
Which it would have been a lot shorter book if...
Should have just done that from the fucking beginning.
Right. As soon as she came out of the coven circle, he was like, I command thee. And she was like, okay.
Yeah, because at that point, she hated him.
Right.
So, yeah. Well, after all of the trickery and whatever, we find out that the guy that he, quote unquote, killed is still alive. Mm-hmm. And this goes back, when we finish talking about the book, I was going to go back to our, some of our theories that we had, but I'm going to talk about one of them right now.
Okay.
And you had a theory because I was totally against him. Like, there was no possible way that this man was morally gray, right? Like, it just did not make sense. And you said that, there's going to be some excuse that comes up. There's going to be some way that it's explained that he's not a terrible guy. And this is probably the only way that it can be explained that I now believe that he's not a terrible guy.
Right.
In that he just faked his death.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the only way that he could have got out of this situation without being the villain. So, so it happens. He basically just he used the man as a way to be like,
fear me.
Yes, exactly. I think I skipped a little bit, but we're going to go to the next part. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. No, it's fine. Because the part that you skipped was like the sex scene.
Oh, yeah.
In the cabin. So that's basically it.
Maybe, did I write it down at all? I don't know if I wrote it down.
Mm-hmm.
Because he used an icicle, right?
Yes.
Okay, I think that's why I didn't write it down, because I was like, what the fuck?
I know. I was like, this is such a strange kink in the middle of like a completely average book.
Yeah, a completely different story. Like, it did not feel like it fit at all.
No. I was like, I don't want to say I wasn't traumatized or anything like that, but I just remember sitting there like, as I'm reading it, like, what in the fuck is going on right now? Because like you said, it's like, it felt like a completely different book. Like, we're going to have sex now, but we're going to make it a little bit weird.
Right. We're going to add some kinks into it. Like, it's not just going to be whatever. Like, it did feel.
And what's a kink that nobody uses? Icicles.
Icicles. Obviously.
Yeah. I asked Mike.
You did?
While I was reading this book, I asked him, I was like, so can I tell you about this sex kink from this book? And he's like,
Sure.
And I told him, and he's like, he was driving. So he's like, whatever. He's like, I don't really know how to feel about that, minus it's weird. And I was like, okay. But then like later he was like, so should I get some icicles? And I was like, get the fuck away from me. Nobody wants that.
Nobody wants icicles, especially one that you just literally walked outside and grabbed off the awning of your home. Like,
yeah, it's just like, I just imagine like walking out there, grabbing it, like cracking it, like eating a carrot, and just like, like, I was going to say, that's not the only kind of weird kink. Because doesn't she have a dream where she's having sex with the king and Nikos is standing right there?
So she also likes cucks. Why are you shaking your head like that?
I don't remember this. You're gonna have to explain it.
Well, it's not in the book. The word cuck is somebody who enjoys watching other people have sex in the room.
I've never heard of that.
I only know that from listening to podcasts.
Sure.
Podcasting people who talk about weird shit. Well, now maybe I've just shared, and now other people know because of me.
That makes sense. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't remember Nikos being in the room, but it's possible.
Well, so it was one of those dreams where she's with Nikos and she's talking to him, and then, like, the king shows up and she has to choose, like, he starts to kiss her, and then they're, like, having sex, and then she, like, realizes that Nikos is still there or something, and I was just like,
I don't think I read that part.
what an interesting kink.
We'll see.
You should read it again.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe
I'll tell you what page it's on.
Okay, yes. Actually, tell me what chapter it's in.
Okay, let me look for it.
Okay.
Okay, the weird sex dream. I found it. It is page 27.
Page?
Oh, sorry. Chapter 27.
Okay. I was like, that did not happen. It was while they were in, it wasn't the dream. It was while they were in the mind thing, right? Because chapter 27 is the chapter that they're in the.
Yeah, my bad.
Minefield.
I wrote dream.
Okay.
So.
Okay, so now we get to the part where they're Kirsi and her are laying in their room, and they go try to do the thing again. And when she wakes up, Kirsi is stabbed. What the fuck? What the fuck? I don't know. I immediately, though, will say it was meant to make it look like the king did it, and I knew immediately that he did not do this. Like, there was no question for me. I hate that it even made it seem like it was him. It was stupid.
Yeah.
But,
well, and the whole thing was set up to piss her off enough.
Right, to kill him.
You know, to kill him.
Right.
So,
which is why he used I think we know that it was Nikos that did it, right? Like,
yeah, I think it's assumed that it probably
that it was Nikos. So when he went to the ball, stole the knife off of him, and so then used the knife to kill Kirsi, which, fuck you, bro. So yeah.
Well, and see, that whole thing, just going back to that, just doesn't fucking make sense. Like, if you're gonna have a plan, if you're gonna have a plan to convince her, why are you trying to manipulate her? Just make Nikos, who is totally on board, put her in the fucking trance thing where she just fucking does what she's told.
Right.
Why do we have to have all of this round and round where now Kirsi is dead and, like, you know, like, I mean, when you get to the end of the book, you kind of understand a little bit, like, there's more behind that or whatever.
Right.
And I don't really know what happens with that storyline in Kirsi, but, like, it just, like, I don't know. Yeah,
I get it. I don't know. Well, in this section, Bastian becomes very jealous and possessive, and I'm not mad at it. This is one of those qualities I wrote down specifically is page 300, where he says, "I would burn down the world for you." This is one of those qualities that if it happens in real life, I'm out. Like, you do not possess me. You do not own me. Keep your jealousy to your fucking self. Like, we're not playing any fucking games. But when I read it in a fucking book, and we've got the morally gray guy who's like, I will burn the world down and fuck everybody who even looks at you, I'm in. I'm all for it.
You're like a different person. So book Vanessa is game.
That's right. Book Vanessa is up for a lot more than real life Vanessa. So, yeah. And at this point, like in this part of it, I started saying that Nikos was a dick and I didn't like him. And it just turned out later that I was right.
Yeah, it turns out that Nikos is a giant pile of garbage, and he has been the whole time, and he's the one that killed the coven leader, and like they've been working in the background all this time, you know.
Right. Okay, so earlier you said that like you were having some theories about her parents. Like, is this the reason why? So now I'm wondering if her being unmarked and her, like, that kind of being the reason why she was able to get that ability. Is that the reason why her mom said, you don't know what you've done, and why her grandma was so insistent on her becoming the leader and, like, all that kind of stuff? Like, did they all know that her being unmarked made her a target of something to be used, you know?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that's a pretty good point, because, like, her mom, if her mom knew and she didn't, like, don't do this because you are, like, a person that they could use to do this plan. One, back to the very beginning of the book. Why the fuck didn't you say something?
Oh, that was another theory I have. What if, so when Nikos does the thing to her and says, like, you have to go do this thing, right? And you can do nothing else until this happens. And so then as soon as she attempts to do it and is blocked, she's now able to tell Gray and Kirsi what happened because the thing was acted out, right?
Right.
What if her parents were put under the same type of thing? And so the only thing that they could say was, like, don't go do this. And don't you don't know what you've done by putting your name in there, because they knew that Nico's parents deflected and came over to try to be bad. Maybe they didn't know everything, but I feel like enough. Yes, I feel like they knew that Nikos's parents were, like, out to do whatever they were going to do. And then that not that Nikos was part of it, because I don't think that they maybe didn't know about him specifically. But what if Nikos went to them and said, like, you can't say anything? And that is the reason why. That's my new theory, though, that I'm going with. So,
yeah. I mean, that's a good theory.
Yeah. Yeah, I know we kind of skipped, like, way ahead in that, but, like, that's where my theories were kind of going all over the place, because it was either they already knew something about her being unmarked that made her a target, or a spell like Nikos's was put on them and they weren't able to tell her anything.
Yeah.
And now that the spell has basically been broken, or, like, that it happened or whatever, maybe they'll be able to say, like, what they've known all along now. Okay, so Kirsi is dead at this point, and I feel really, really bad for Scoop, because Scoop is just walking around looking for her, and he's so sad. At the end, Kirsi kind of comes back as a wraith, I guess. So not fully here, not fully crossed. One, can Scoop still be connected to her?
She says in the after.
Okay.
That the afterlife, or whatever the fuck they are, or when they're on the beach. I think she mentions it, that she can't, she's lost her connection to him.
Okay, so now that is confirmed, if Raven does not figure out a way to connect with Scoop, I'm going to be very upset.
I'm not even fully, and maybe I missed this, but I'm not even fully on, like, I don't even really think, well, I guess I have two theories. Okay. I don't really even think the king is dead.
Oh, no, he's not.
Because well, Sebastian says he is.
Who's Sebastian?
Sorry, not Sebastian. Gray.
Gray says he is?
I think so. I think he said, because he doesn't say he's dead. He says, I saw him, like, die or take the hit or something like that, or deflect it. I'm pretty sure he says that. I will go back and look and confirm, but...
So I think I understand. I think I know what you're saying, because I remember reading it, but I didn't get the same thing from it. Like, what I got from it was that he blocked it by sending her into the non-magic realm.
Okay.
Oh yeah, there's no he's not dead. Like, I think he pushed her into the before.
So she didn't have to kill him, she just had to attempt to kill him, and it breaks the
like, she carried out what he told her to do, basically. So she did the spell at him. Whether it worked or didn't work, it broke the thing.
How did Gray get there? Did he just fall in the bubble?
Yeah, I think as soon as because they were all in the same area, and I think the king just kind of like opened the door and pushed through, and the three of them went through because they were all standing right next to each other. So that was okay. So the way Kirsi comes back is at the other trial, which was a weird fucking trial. She makes her one wish to ask her friend a question, and while that's happening, the fairy kind of brings her half back to ask her the question. And in that, Nikos goes up to her and tells her that he's got this weird fucking power that is like the, I don't know. Oh, here's the icicle. It was later.
Maybe it was.
It was in chapter 37.
That's probably true.
But anyway, so Nico shows up. His parents have infiltrated the Moon Coven. He tells her that they killed Tassa, and he has a spell to control her, and told her to go to the castle and kill the king and do not speak or do anything else until it's done. And so, yeah, he counters the spell by sending her through a door to an unmagic land, and that's all.
They wake up on a beach in the unmagic world.
Yes, I think, so my theory for the next book basically is that her and Bastien are going to murder everyone.
Do you think that they are gonna start the love triangle now?
No, I don't think. I think Gray's out. I think she's too into Bastien, whatever. I was
calling him Sebastian, like the crab from Little Mermaid.
Okay. I think that their connection is too much that I think Gray is like a best friend now. And
just like a helpful little friend.
Yes, a helpful little friend. I think he might help her in the beginning, like they're going to team up, and he's going to end up helping her explain everything potentially to Bastien, and then as soon as he understands the truth or learns the truth, he's going to fucking burn the world down, and Nikos doesn't stand a chance.
Okay, well, if you're going to say that, if you don't think if you think Nikos is going to come to an end, who do you think is going to do it? Is it Raven or the king?
I think it's Raven, but I think the king is going to he's going to make it possible. But I think it's going to be Raven because she's going to be she has so much anger from him killing everybody that she loves, basically. I don't think he's going to be able to make it out of this. Also at the very end, Willow is now the leader of the Moon Coven, which weird. Because she said the only reason she was doing this was because she wanted to be queen, not because she wanted to be the Coven leader. He's not going to go after you, little lady. So there's all that. Okay, so that gives us to the end of the book. Now I'm going to tell you about some theories that we had.
Okay.
That may or may not have come true.
I'm glad you caught all these because I did not remember. I need to start writing them down separate.
I wrote them down while we were editing while I was editing because I was like, I don't remember any of these. So first I said they're fated mates. We still don't have an answer on that. You had some shifter foreshadowing theories. I feel like we still don't.
Well, he's half shifter, right?
Yeah, I feel like so it was kind of.
Yeah, I was very vague. Now that you're saying that, I remember because I was kind of all over I was like, "There's a shifter. I fucking know it."
Right?
They hate shifters so much in the first 2 pages. Somebody's a shifter,
and then okay, so. That makes sense. I said I felt like he wanted just to make one big coven. He doesn't. I also said the harrowing we both had theorized that the harrowing that she experienced was actually a curse and not a harrowing. which we found out to be true, right? It was somebody trying to murder her. Was that Nikos?
I assume so.
I assume so now too, but we never get a full answer on that. I had the theory of not trusting the mom, and we still don't have an answer at the end, but I do think my new theory about her mom has to do with her being bound in some way, magically. You, ma'am, had the theory of Kirsi being a backstabbing friend.
She got stabbed.
She did get stabbed, and Raven did get backstabbed by a friend. It just wasn't Kirsi. So you were like kind of halfway.
I knew
there.
There would be a friend who betrayed her. I was just wrong.
You just picked the wrong friend.
I was trying to save Nico from being such a tool.
Well, now we find. I think the reason why he was such a little worrywart and a twat in the beginning was because he was hiding his true intentions. You had a theory that you thought Gray was a stand-in for the king.
Yes, that was not true.
Not true. I had a theory that I was not convinced that she ends up with Gray or the king, and that I thought Gray was going to end up saving her. To be fair, he does kind of step in and help her, like, with the grimoire stuff, and, like, he seems to always be there to help her, but I don't think that my theory is coming to fruition.
Right. He's a very convenient character.
Yes.
Like, he's not in a lot of it, but he shows up when it's convenient that it's not the king helping her.
Right. Yes. You had the theory that the Moss Coven was not going to their grimoire out of spite. So, I feel like that one's not totally out, because we did get all the information about the girl who goes missing, and like he gives us more of that information. But I do think that it's totally possible that they were doing something like that because the whole mission was to make him look bad, right? So anytime he did anything good, like gave them food, gave them whatever, they just burned it and was like, the king didn't give us anything. So it's totally possible that they could have been like, he won't let us come see the grimoire.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I had a theory that the Moon Coven and Raven were going to take place of the most powerful coven. Still yet to be seen, I guess. I had the theory that there was nothing morally gray about him, and that was proven to be not true. He's very morally gray. Like I said earlier, you guessed that there was going to be an excuse for the king to be the good guy, and that was very true. Guessed that he had to take the grimoires to stop something. So, like, you were saying, like, oh, I had to kill these people. I had to steal these grimoires. I had to whatever. And you were right. So he did have to steal them, and he did have to fake kill people, and he did have to do all these things, which is kind of a little confusing because he's like, I want people to fear me, so I'm going to fake kill these people, but then I'm also going to provide all the covens with a bunch of food that they're not going to eat. And, like, you know what I mean? So he's doing nice things all while doing fake mean things.
Right.
So that's where we are. I don't know if you have any theories for book 2, but I have a theory because it's called The Unbound Witch. I think now that the Nikos thing is off, she's no longer in the trials, like, I feel like she is going to fucking come undone and her powers are just gonna get crazy.
Right. Yeah, I assume the same thing. She's just gonna go fucking berserk mode. But I guess one of the things that I said earlier that irked me a little bit was the fact that if she's telling it from her point of view, she's still not telling us what all her powers are. Right. And she downplays her powers a lot. She's like, oh, I'm not that strong. I'm not that. But then, like,
doesn't it seem like she doesn't know how strong she is, though? Like, almost like it's tampered a little bit.
I mean, I know she downplays her powers from a aspect of she doesn't ever tell us like what they are, right? Okay. So like she just, every time she talks about it, she's like, oh, I'm just not that strong of a witch and my powers aren't that big and blah blah blah. And then I mean, I know now that she has like the death mark or whatever, but
I don't know. I think we're gonna find out. Obviously we're gonna find out more about her powers. We're gonna find out more about what powers she actually has. I do think they're going to figure out a way to allow her to receive more powers. Like, I don't think she's just stunted now. I think her and the king are going to get back together and tear down the world. And
she's going to be his queen, his gray queen. And
she's going to be the queen. I do think that she's going to be left from the Moon Coven unless we find out like they're gonna rule over both of them. I don't know, together. But I think she's gonna be his queen. And I do know though that book 2 is told from Kirsi and Raven's point of view. Like every other chapter is one of them. So I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, I don't either. I was really surprised to see a Kirsi point of view.
Yeah.
I don't know. Kirsi wasn't exactly my favorite character.
No. I think... So we're going to have to learn much more about wraiths and how they fit into the world and how, like... Is it just like she never left? Or is there some difference, I think we're going to need to learn more about that before we can make a decision on her. But I maybe the reason why there's the 2 point of views is we're going to get Raven working with the king and Kirsi dealing with all her wraith shit.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
So what is your final rating of the Unmarked Witch? Did it go up from a 1?
So as of last time I had 1.
Yes.
I guess I'll give it another half because I like how in the chapters, the very front page of each chapter, there's all these little pictures.
That is not a reason to give it a fucking half star, Nicole.
I'll give it a half star because the story got better, or at least less annoying.
Okay.
But
so are you at 2.5 now? No, you're at 2.
I'm at 2. And I'm trying to think. I could probably think of another reason to give it another half, but I don't know if I'm willing to go over 2.5.
Okay.
Are you about to say 5, 4?
I'm giving it a 4.
Is this another book? I know it has problems, but I still enjoyed myself.
Yes. Like, but the problems with it, I didn't feel as strongly about as you did.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not a 5. Like and I won't even get close to. Wouldn't even consider 4.5. Like it's a 3.5 to a 4, but I will round up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I wasn't. Maybe this is still, like, I know in the regular episodes I talked about this, like, if this is my brain not letting me read books right now, if this is part of it, but, like, if it's part of a slump. But I just couldn't get into the story. Like,
so I don't want to get too deep into this because we're going to have to talk about it on a regular episode because this episode's already going to be so fucking long. But we will have to talk about, like, I just think that you care about certain things more than I care about. And I can easily let things go. Where I feel like once it happens, you're just like, fuck you, half a star.
We're done here.
Yeah. So I think maybe that's what happened a little bit. So that's fine. 2.5 and 4, it's fine. This is just where we live now, all right?
Someday we'll find a book we both agree on.
That's right. All right, well, that's all. Thanks for coming to our
3-hour
72-hour episode hopefully you enjoyed reading along with us on this book and how we did like the different sections. We're going to be doing the same thing with the Unbound Witch. So that's coming next month. That will
also be a 72-hour episode.
Exactly. So that's all. Visit us on our website, savorthestorypod.com, and go tell us all of your thoughts about this book. Please tell us whose side you're on. And be ready to read book 2 with us. Go to all our socials, Savor the Story Pod. And that's all. Give us likes, thumbs ups, all the things. We love you. Thanks.
Bye. Get out of here.